Hello and welcome to the Future Self podcast. I'm Rachel Warren, a fourth year student at the Australian National University, studying a Bachelor of Music. My majors are jazz and contemporary vocal performance and composition. I am thrilled to be speaking to a producer based in the US, Mike Daley, who has worked on songs for K-pop artists SHINee, EXO and NCT. Mike has also produced American artists such as Chris Brown and our own Jessica Mauboy. Hi Mike, can you introduce yourself briefly?
Yes, my name is Mike Daley, from Chicago, Illinois, but now living in Los Angeles. I'm a music producer. I had the privilege of going out to Korea a couple times early in my career and kind of built some relationships out there. And have been doing a bunch of K-pop music. And then, also had one of my first placements ever with Jessica Mauboy. And just working on a lot of current stuff in the States too, with Chris Brown and a lot of other new artists. So still working, hopefully a bunch of new music coming out.
Wow, that sounds really exciting. So I wanted to talk about the writing. So I understand for Western pop and K-pop, it's both very collaborative, but one point of difference is the songwriting camps held in Korea. I've heard of songwriters and producers coming from all over the world to participate in the songwriting camps. So what happens at a songwriting camp and how do you get invited to one?
So I'll just explain how I first kind of got invited, and then I think that'll kind of explain it. So basically, from what I know, there were a couple like major producers that that the company SM were fans of in their initial camps, and the Underdogs were an R&B team that did a lot of Justin Timberlake's early music, like his first album, all Chris Brown's early music, a lot of stuff, like a lot of R&B stuff that SM really likes, like musical R&B music. So they're big fans of the Underdogs. And I was signed to the Underdogs. So I kind of came up under them as a producer and would co-produce with them. So on one of their trips, I got invited, and that was basically the start of me doing K-pop music. And then from there, I continued having trips with them, and then I've kind of moved on to having my own camps out there and like bringing in my own team. So that's kind of how I got brought out there. And I think SM has a lot of A&Rs, so it's very competitive. They're reaching out to artists, all over in Sweden, UK, United States to set up these camps. I think in the beginning there were maybe 5 or 10, and now I'd say they're probably like 20 or 30 camps a year. It looks like, I don't know that for a fact, but just seeing the amount of people that are out there working on stuff, it's like a lot that, they're working a lot now. Basically I think SM probably reaches out to them. I've built that relationship with SM, so I'm kind of already in talks with them about stuff. But you kind of, at least for my camps, they'll let me know what type of projects they're envisioning coming out. And most of the time it's pretty detailed. They'll like have a whole vision for the project, and maybe even a song or two to get it started, or maybe not. They're kind of looking for something to get it started. That's kind of where my job comes in, trying to figure out something to fit what they want. And that's basically trying to get their vision, is how it all starts in the beginning with the production. And then for my camps, I bring out the best writers I can. SM has some writers that they really like, and so do I, and we kind of try to connect those dots and like put a bunch of writers that they really like and that I really like, in the same area at the same time. So some of these guys I've met for the first time in Korea and had only been working with over the internet doing K-pop music, but never had really met. So it's funny. Like now some of my best friends are those guys that I've met in Korea for the first time.
Wow, that's really insightful. So, what were you talking about SM camps compared to your own camps? What exactly?
So when I said SM camps, those are kind of like in general, the underdogs camps and my own fall under those. But I was separating my own camps, meaning like when I wasn't signed with the underdogs anymore, I kept making K-pop music, and then started having like my camp where I'm like the lead producer, or me and Mitch are making everything, and then I'm bringing the writers out there. So I think there's different ones. I think, there's some camps where they'll have a bunch of different producers and a bunch of writers. And then some camps where they'll have a main producer and a bunch of writers, around them writing to those specific producers' tracks for a couple days or a week or whatever it is. But yeah, usually when I go, we're writing, to our specific tracks throughout that week.
Wow, okay. Can you talk a little more about what happens at a camp?
Yeah. So kind of like I said before, SM will have a direction that they're looking to go with a project, and kind of already have the vision for me in terms of what projects they want me to work on. So I kind of know all that going into the camp ahead of time, like, whose albums they want to come out soon, and kind of what space they have on the album. So I'm not necessarily working. Yeah, so I'm not out there necessarily just randomly working. We kind of know what projects we're working on, and then yeah, I'm trying to deliver tracks that SM or the artists, if they're around, like, and that the writers also like and are inspired to write. So yeah, so basically we'll get some tracks together and then start kind of top lining those songs, and trying to get them to sound like a hit record, really. And then yeah, we spend a couple of days kind of focusing on certain groups and trying to get songs, and some of them turn out good, and some of them we stop halfway through and start something new. It's a little intense. It's like we're trying to give them as many great songs as we can before we have to fly back. So I want to, yeah, and then we always want to, keep delivering and keep trying to make albums and stuff. So, but yeah, that's basically the gist of it. It's just kind of writing every day. So it's a little intense for the writer. Sometimes their voice will go out or something. They'll be tired from the time zone difference. It's a little hard on certain people. I've been going out there for a while, so I'm ready. I'm all good to work when I'm out there. But yeah, certain people get tired for days, and you kind of have to just push through and try to knock some songs out. But yeah, generally just writing the songs, trying to give them what they want.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, the aspect of getting tired, especially as a singer.
Right. And then, like studio you're in the studio late and then can't necessarily fall asleep. So yeah, I get it. There's definitely people, you can see them getting tired out there. So that's another thing as a producer. You got to kind of realize who's tired, who needs a day off, and all that type of stuff, just to kind of keep the morale up while we're trying to deliver records.
So you've talked about your role as a producer. I'm interested to ask you about how you would work with a topliner, because the topliner is the role that I'm interested in, which, just for the listeners' benefit, is writing the melody and the lyrics.
Right. Yeah. So because I work with such great top liners, a lot of the time I try to stay out of the way, right? I don't try to push them or pull them one way or another, unless I'm not, kind of feeling what they're doing. But I put a lot of trust in the writers I bring out there, and sometimes I might be making another beat in another room for the next day, and they're writing alone in their room. So I definitely put a lot of trust in them. But when we are working together, we kind of just build backwards is what I was taught over at the Underdog. So we'll come up with a concept. From there, kind of put some melodies down, freestyle melodies, to kind of just see if you catch something. Like, I don't know if you know what I mean, but basically just I'd play the beat and record, and you'd sing basically the whole song down, a melody, maybe once or twice, and then we'd kind of chop out the parts that we liked and try to build from there. But mostly starting at the hook, because I think if we get the hook right, you can kind of just build backwards from there. But yeah, that's basically the steering I try to do, is just make sure we're not just kind of writing aimlessly and just start like, we don't have an end to it or what we're trying to actually say. I like trying to actually, have the concept and then, all right, like, let's make this all make sense now. But yeah, and then a lot of it is a lot of that freestyle melody stuff and kind of chopping those around to fit, what sounds like a good song to us.
Right, so just improvising the melody over the track. And would that take, you mentioned like 2 takes? Is that all it would take?
3 takes. If there's a couple writers in the room, or if the artist's in the room, they might go, and then the writer will hear what they did and kind of interpolate that. So that's great when the artist is around and kind of tell us what they like or what type of vibe they like, and we can kind of, that's what a good writer could do, is just take a little piece of what the artist might hear and then run with that. So that's always great if the artist could do a pass, to kind of let us know where they're at. But yeah, if not, then you just try to channel the artist as the writer and kind of, put your sauce or your swag on what you want the writer to do. That's what I think our writers are doing.
Oh, I like that. I really like that. So the process of creating a song, is it much different when you're aiming for a Western pop audience or a K-pop audience?
The song structure is different, and that's kind of the only thing I would say. I think they all have to have a good hook. If you don't have a good hook, you kind of, the beat could be good or parts of it could be good, but if you want it to impact, it has to start with a good hook. But wait, will you repeat the question again? I got lost.
Just wondering about how the process might be different for Western pop or K-pop.
So the song structure is basically the most different, I would say, because there's so many more changes in K-pop music. In the States, the first verse and the second verse could sound kind of exactly similar. You could kind of repeat the melody and then you just fly the hooks. Hooks all sound the same. In K-pop, very rarely does the first verse sound exactly the same as the second verse. There's usually a B section part, like some sort of departure from the verse, production-wise and melody-wise, and then a hook. So yeah, you're just writing more parts and have to kind of figure out how to tie different sections together to make like one song.
Now that you've pointed that out, I can really think of so many examples of that.
Right. So yeah, that's when I'm working with even producers out here, that's kind of the only thing I'm telling them is like, okay, yeah, we have like the verse and the hook. Now we have to make a B section, and then we have to make like a completely different second verse, kind of. We could like use some of the elements, but we have to flip it basically. So yeah, it's just a little bit more format stuff. But other than that, it's all just trying to get the best song. And I feel like compared to maybe 7 years, I think I started going out there 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. The music, K-pop music and like the US music, or I don't know what you call it out there, but they're sounding way more similar. Like a beat that could go for Chris Brown could also work for EXO or NCT or a group like that. So I'm noticing that the production's getting more similar, and I think just because everything's global now with streaming, that yeah, it's a good song, and then yeah, everything's kind of getting closer. I'm noticing US artists doing repackages like K-pop does now, and borrowing the type of stuff that K-pop music is known to do. So yeah, everyone's kind of using from each other, and it's kind of getting a little closer than it was before.
Oh, that's really interesting to hear that, because you've been working in K-pop a lot longer than I have been following K-pop. So yeah, that's a really cool perspective.
Yeah, like I think my first song was Mr. Mister, which to me is kind of like at that time was a classic K-pop song. But when I listen to it now, I guess music has changed in the US too, but yeah, it was definitely just different than what was going on in the US at that time. Where now, all these groups, Blackpink, Red Velvet, all these groups are, they're having features and doing music that US artists or, British artists, Australian, whoever, can get on the song with them. So
Yeah,
just trying to make global songs now.
I'm really excited for more K-pop going global. So this year we haven't been able to travel, so I'm wondering how the writing process for K-pop has changed, and if you have any K-pop coming out that was produced from home.
I do. So basically, I've been doing some Zoom sessions with writers, and we'll either start kind of from scratch over, I'll be making the beat on my computer. But generally not like, so I'm not wasting anyone's time. I'll like kind of have the beat ready beforehand, and at least have it like, so we're not wasting anyone's time. Like, this beat is good, so let's write to this one and try to deliver a full song. But yeah, so I've been sending some tracks around. The process has changed in terms of working with the A&Rs a little bit, where I'm sending more beats through and then just kind of seeing if they like them. And if they do like them, then I'll start trying to get writers on them, or they'll start trying to get writers on them. So that's kind of the behind the scenes stuff that's changed. But yeah, a couple of these Zoom sessions, I'm pretty sure I don't have anything out, and you really never know, because some songs they say they're taking, and they are, but they've come out like 4 or 5 years after we did them. So I never like know exactly what's going on, what project and everything. But yeah, a couple of the songs that we did over Zoom, I'm pretty sure are coming out at some point. And then, yeah, that's kind of become a new normal in the music industry, is these Zoom sessions. And they're a little complicated. Like, I don't love them unless I'm like on it with someone I'm close with and friends with. It's just a little difficult to like meet someone for the first time and try to figure out how to work together. A lot of that is kind of catching the vibe in the studio. But yeah, I mean, people, have to adapt. So we've been adapting. The songwriters that know how to record themselves, I think, are kind of have gone up a level in terms of how they can deliver songs. And if a songwriter doesn't know how to record themselves, they still have to go get an engineer and try to figure out a studio situation. So yeah, a lot of these songwriters that already know how to record themselves or produce a little bit, I think, have been doing well in quarantine. And then the other ones have just kind of started learning how to record themselves to try to adapt.
Yeah, I see. You'd have to have those skills to be able to function remotely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of the writers I bring to Korea can record themselves, which allows me to get multiple rooms going at the same time, if that makes sense. So I can have one writer in one room working on a beat, recording themselves, another writer in another room working on a beat, recording themselves, and then me be starting a new beat with another writer, and try to get multiple rooms going. So we're not just delivering one song a day.
Yeah, nice and efficient.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really, really valuable information. So when I was researching songwriters in the K-pop industry, Many writers said they began working in K-pop as a kind of happy accident. So how did you start writing for the K-pop industry?
Yeah, the same thing happened for me. I think nobody really knew what we were getting into. We just I got invited by my boss, Harvey Mason. So the underdogs are Harvey Mason and Damon Thomas. So Harvey was the one that was going out there to Korea, and yeah, he invited me, and I was like super nervous and excited. He had never really invited me anywhere to work on music, let alone like the other side of the world. And I had never traveled for music, so I was super excited. And yeah, it was definitely a happy accident. We had some success on that trip. We did Mr. Which turned out to be like a big record out there. And then that kind of started the relationship. Or I don't know what started Harvey and SM's relationship, because they had the relationship and I was invited. But that first trip went well, and then we just kind of kept going out there maybe twice a year for a week. And then yeah, once Harvey and I kind of split our business and started going different ways, I started going out there and doing the same thing. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started. And then I just never stopped. I kept all those relationships, and I kind of was like a fan too. I was like into all the music and into everything that was like, going on with the whole like kind of K-pop brewing, and getting bigger and bigger every year. And then yeah, I kind of just started working on more and more K-pop. And then it's funny, I like, even now when I look at all the songs I've done, or people will tag me in something and be like, oh look, he produced this and this. It's wild for me, just to look and see all these songs, because it still feels like I went out there just like a year or two ago and did Mr. Definitely a happy mistake, and I'm super, blessed and thankful that it did happen.
Right. So that initial songwriting camp is really key to starting in the
Yes.
industry.
And then it's interesting because I bet a lot of songwriters do say they got their start there, because I think initially people started seeing not like your typical producers, or not the hottest producers in the United States at that point, having success in the in Korea. So a lot of people started seeing it as an opportunity to start writing and have some success. And I think there was a time where it was like maybe a little easier to get a K-pop placement than it was to get a placement in the States. But I think now it's become so competitive, like we talked about in the beginning. SM's flying like the best of the best that they can out to work on music now. So it's gotten like just as competitive trying to get a K-pop placement, I think.
Mm, that's, yeah, really good to know. Actually, something I wanted to ask you, um, for me, because I'm interested in joining the K-pop industry, I started learning Korean this year. So I wanted to know if you think that speaking in Korean would, I'll start with this question. Do you speak Korean?
No, I don't. I know a couple phrases, but I think I know what you're saying. Do I think it'll help you as like a songwriter and do like K-pop music?
Yeah, will speaking Korean
Yeah,
make the industry more competitive?
100% yes, I think it will. It's kind of something I'm like embarrassed about that I don't speak it, because I just love the culture so much, and everyone's so respectful and everything. I would just love to be able to at least have a little bit of a conversation. But I do think it's important, because relationships are very important. At least for me, that's been the way I've had any kind of success, is just kind of, trying to be as respectful as possible when I'm out there, and work as hard as I can, and like deliver the best music. And I think that would take it up another level to be able to communicate. But also just going around Seoul would be incredible if I knew the language, because I've definitely been in some positions where I'm like pulling out my phone and trying to like explain something in Google Text, where I just wish, yeah, I need to take some time and kind of start studying and learning, learning Korean too. So yeah, I would suggest it. Also, some of the best K-pop writers are from Seoul, or I think they're from Seoul, or at least they work in Seoul now. Yeah, just to be able to communicate more with them, and kind of pick their brain more would be something I would want to do. Because yeah, even when I'm talking about all the writers I bring out to Korea, we're always working with like K-pop writers from Korea as well, and they're kind of like they're so dialed into what's going on and the sound that they're like essential. So it's kind of like their talent with the US talent is what makes like a good combo in like the group I bring out there. But yeah, but speaking Korean would be, I think, I don't think like everyone needs to do it, but I think it's something that can help your career for sure.
Yeah. Uh,
How long have you been learning?
just this year, actually.
Okay. Have you been doing it like in school, or are you doing it like on like an online or like an app or something?
I've had tutoring a little bit through the university, a little bit through a Korean funded institute online through Sydney, so a whole lot of ways.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been wild. So I wanted to ask you about skills and opportunities. First of all, what practical skills did you need to be able to do what you're doing now? So like a particular music program or good business skills or social media skills?
Yeah, I think kind of all of those. I think you have to know how to use one of these music programs. I use Logic. I started on Logic. Actually, I started on Fruity Loops, but the underdogs used Logic, and I was like trying to be like the underdogs, and basically learned Logic. And now that's what I use for everything. I would say to try to learn an instrument, but there's a lot of producers that don't know any instruments, that kind of just know the math and can figure out how to make chords and click it in, that are top Billboard #1 producers. So I would say for K-pop, you kind of need to know what you're doing musically. That's where Mitch, the producer I work with, he's like one of the most talented musicians just across the board that I've ever met. That's kind of why we've had some success out there too, is his musicality, over like something that might not supposed to be that musical has worked for us. But yeah, I think those are essential to be a music producer, and then you kind of just learn as you go. I learned a lot just, kind of being in the studio. And then in terms of business, I have a manager that I've been with for a while, a couple years now, probably 4 or 5 years, who handles a lot of my business, and I'm like really grateful for. So I'm involved in, reading every email and every contract, but I definitely think that you should get some help in that department to make sure all your business is right, because it can get complicated trying to collect money from the other side of the world and all this stuff. So yeah, I'm my manager's great, and I don't know if you know about like publishers and administration people and stuff like that, but my team over there is great too in collecting money. So that's like the business side of it. And then for social media, like I don't think I'm that good at it. I never know. I'm not good at like posting pictures of myself. I kind of try to post all the like albums I have coming out or songs coming out. But yeah, there can definitely be business opportunities through that. There's a lot of people that reach out to me in DMs that I think have found me through one way or another through my music. and then that can facilitate selling more beats or more songs. So yeah, I think staying active on social media in 2020, you have to. I'm not so good at it, but I'm like trying to figure out more stuff to post.
Yeah, that's great. So you talked about your first opportunity being a songwriting camp. What other opportunities did you create for yourself to get involved in the professional songwriting industry and in K-pop?
Learning how I went to a recording school to be an engineer. First, when I moved to LA, I went for like a year, and that got me an internship at the Underdog studio, and I kind of built my way up from there. So I think being an engineer helped out a lot, learning how to record, because basically I could kind of like put my beats on and then have songwriters write to them, which is the biggest step from becoming kind of like a beat maker to a producer, is to me kind of having songs versus just having like a bunch of beats on your computer. So that was like a big step once I started having songwriters like writing to my beats, and then I was like, spending time mixing the song and arranging it and doing all that. I think that taught me a lot, and kind of prepared me for some K-pop stuff where the arrangement is you have to like figure out the arrangement. And at that time when I only had a couple songs, I'd spend a long time switching up the arrangements and trying all this weird stuff. So I think that helped. Yeah.
Um, as I mentioned before, I'm interested in being a topliner specifically for K-pop. So what advice would you give to someone specifically wanting to be a topliner in K-pop?
I think just studying songs, studying the writers that you like, and then just writing a lot of songs, kind of doing it every day. I had the Underdogs as a mentor to me, kind of to come up under them. I think that helped me a lot. I was able to use kind of their like all their network, to help write to my beats in the beginning. So networking helped, but yeah, kind of finding someone to like kind of help you in the game is always a big thing. But just in terms of like teaching you specific things in songwriting that I probably don't even know that songwriters are doing when they're writing to my tracks. But yeah, I mean, even I can give you a list of a couple of my favorite writers, when we're done, that I think are really good, just writers in general, and they write K-pop stuff too. But yeah, a lot of it is just being able to kind of hear what people like in a song, and then being able to kind of interpolate that feeling, into a new idea. Because a lot of the times we'll kind of have an idea what type of song we want it to be, and then you kind of have to be able to study those types of songs and then figure out why those songs are good, and then put that into a new idea.
Right. So being able to capture the feeling of good things and bring it into something new.
K-pop also is huge with harmonies. I mean, it's just way more musical than most genres to me, at least like genres over here. So yeah, learning about harmonies is huge. That's like most songs out in the States, you could kind of send like one lead demo down and people will get the basic idea. But in Korea, yeah, you have to fill out the song and put harmonies and a bunch of background parts and all that type of stuff. And that's like a whole another level of production, like vocal production and arranging backgrounds and all that type of stuff, which is huge in K-pop music.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that because, yeah, that is quite a distinct K-pop thing.
Yeah, and they're beautiful. Like I love harmonies and stuff, and kind of even the Underdogs they were like known for their harmonies. That's probably part of the reason SM liked them. But yeah, harmonies are huge out there. And then writers like seem to love putting harmonies on stuff. So I think it's fun for them too to stack a bunch of harmonies. And yeah, you kind of like add whatever you can without ruining the record and trying to make it big on the background and harmony side.
Cool. So I wanted to talk about your song Bad Alive for the group Wavy. I just love this song. I love the riffs, and the hits after the bridge are so satisfying. I would always be waiting for those in the song. So can you please tell me about how you created some of those riffs? And I did attempt to practice a little demo of what I think I'm hearing for the bass riff, if you'd like me
to. Hang on, let me pull it up and try to see what we did real quick. Let me just listen. Oh yeah. It's so weird. So I think that's like a sound we found that's like way slower than that. And it's basically like we sped it up and pitched it up. So and it ended up with all those artifacts kind of sounding crazy like that. But I think it's a counter melody. There's something else going under it, which is what we call like a hard bass or something like that. Yeah, so those together kind of with a bunch of distortion creates that sound. That like little intro part. And then then I think there's just like a bunch of like 808s. Like that was a beat that was really fun to make, and that we were all in the room like up and down to it. Yeah, I was excited about that one. Like the second we started recording it, I thought that was a good song. And then Vito and a writer D's wrote the top line on that, and then they kind of went in the room for a while and were like, we could just hear them kind of like yelling and be like, woo, like all this stuff, but they wouldn't let us in. And then once they got like, I think up till the hook done, and they had the verse and B section. I don't know, is there a B section on that one? Whatever it is. And yeah, then we loved it. We knew right away that was like so much energy in that song. And I don't always like, it's hard to catch that energy all the time. That was like one time we got it right, I felt like.
That's really, really exciting to hear everything that you're saying about this song. Back when I listened to it for the first time, I never would have thought that I would get to talk to the producer on it.
Oh man, that's so funny. Well, I appreciate you listening to that song. I'm glad it came out, because you never know. I've had that feeling before, and then like not everyone at the studio felt like that. So like, I've thought songs were kind of on par with that one that haven't come out, and then there have been songs that I didn't think were that great that once the artist got on them took it to like a whole new level. That was definitely a fun one though.
Okay, so the other riff that I wanted to ask you about was the da 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 da.
Yep. Hang on one second. I'm trying to see if I have the session for this. I'm not sure. That's the vocal part, right? The vocal.
No, that's on the track. That's
Hang on, so let me get solo this. That part?
Yeah.
All right, so that is, man, I wish Mitch was here because I didn't play that part. Mitch did, but basically the track that I kind of started, I called Alarm. It was like the name of the beat. So when I was trying to have him add something, so I think without it, yeah, I think we kind of layered it with, but basically, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what we had going on. Basically, that sound, that lead sound was like trying to make it like sound like an alarm in my head. The whole track was kind of like aggressive, like kind of like some kind of alarm was going off or something like that. So that was the energy we were trying to keep. So when I was going through sounds, I think we were just I was clicking through sounds. Mitch was kind of just hitting the keys, auditioning them, and we heard that one and added it to the track, and it just kind of fit in the track right. And yeah, that's kind of, yeah, we have like two kind of offsetting melodies going on there. But yeah, we just kind of, that was in there when we gave them the track, I believe. And that was kind of a lead sound we put in to differentiate the hook and kind of take it up another level.
Yeah, I can really hear what you're saying about it emulating an alarm.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about K-pop, but you also make music for yourself. Is there anything coming out or already out of your own that you want to talk about?
I'm actually about to put out like my first song, like me featuring a couple artists, I think before the end of the year. So yeah, I'm like working on it right now. I'm getting like 2 features on it. But yeah, I want to start kind of putting out my own music, just because I'm making music every day. And, you know, for every like 100 songs I've done, maybe 1 or 2 get placed, something like that. So I got a ton, maybe not that, but I have a lot of songs that, you know, are quality songs that haven't been placed. So yeah, I just want to kind of give them new life, try to figure out a way to release them myself. I love what like Calvin Harris does with his stuff and getting artists to feature on like his tracks and stuff. So that's kind of the lane I want to take.
That's exciting. So we get to see something of your own possibly before the end.
Definitely this year. Yeah, hopefully in the next couple weeks.
Oh, nice. I'll be keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll let you guys know.
That'll be great. Well, thank you so much for this interview. I've had a lot of disappointments and setbacks this year, like anyone else, but this has really, really made my year. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I said that. I know it's been a really tough year. But no, I appreciate all the questions you asked. And again, like I just I'm so lucky to be doing the K-pop stuff and have people that like the music so much. So I'm always just appreciative of any support. So thank you.
It's Ivana Ho here, the producer for Future Self, and I'm here with Rachel Warren just after her interview with Mike Daley. Rachel, so you've mentioned in the interview that your ambition is to be a topliner working in K-pop, and of course Mike is a producer. Can you talk about why it was that you were interested in speaking to Mike?
For me, when I was looking at writers and producers involved in the K-pop industry, Mike was a producer that was on a lot of the tracks that I really loved, especially this year. So it was really exciting to get the opportunity to speak to him not only about his experience working at the company that I most enjoy the music coming from, and with the groups that I love the most, but also talk about the songs that he's created.
And K-pop, well, not just K-pop, but any songwriter and producer or producers, they tend to work quite hand in glove together, don't they?
Yeah, I would say so. So it's like the producer creates the beat and the arrangement of the piece, and then the top liner kind of comes in after that and adds the melody and the lyrics and the harmonies, the whole vocal arrangement and the concept.
Okay. And so what was the biggest takeaway that you came away from your interview with Mike?
Oh, there were so many things that I had never thought about, like when he brought up that singers and top liners can get quite tired at these songwriting camps, which was very, very true. When he brought that up, I was like, oh yeah, of course, because the way you treat your body affects your voice, it affects your instrument directly. So if you are experiencing jet lag, if you are working long hours, then yeah, you can get very tired very easily. And that obviously very directly affects your singing. So that was one thing that I took away. He spoke a couple of times in a couple of different questions about having good relationship with people, building connections, and also in the context of if he was able to communicate in Korean, he could build up more friendship with the people that are native Koreans. And that was, a really important thing to know, to be involved in this industry where it's so collaborative, and having connections is really important. Creating relationships is really important.
And I see why you would have identified getting songwriters getting tired during songwriting camps as being kind of resonant for you, because you've been studying performance with the School of Music, and you're actually just wrapping up your degree, getting prepared to, step out into the world and pursue your own career. So what's this opportunity been like for you to get to talk to Mike and potentially have that foothold into the K-pop industry?
This is exactly the opportunity I needed for this time in my life, where I am finishing my degree and where I am looking to start a career. Because no matter which way I thought about it, no matter what industry I was thinking of pursuing, like film music or musical theatre or writing my own songs or just anything, it seems really, really important to have a mentor to teach you not just the skills to do the work, but the whole way that the systems work, how the business works, give you connections. Being a musician, no matter which angle you take it, even if you're teaching, it seems to be a very independent thing, and it's all about the connections that you make and the opportunities that you take. So to be able to have this opportunity hopefully will lead to more opportunities. So that's exactly what I'm hoping for, and I'm really, 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 really grateful.